The fourth question. Now look at this story. There's a ball which is released from a height h, hits the ground and it rebounds up to a height of h by 2. So that means the collision is not elastic, and we need to see the plot of velocity versus h. So let's see how can we pick among these four options. We can very go straightforward manner. First of all, the relationship between velocity and height would not be linear. So that's how third option and fourth option would be eliminated, right? That's how it goes. And after that, the expression of velocity, that is root of 2gh, if I see that if it's released from a certain height, so it's clear indication that the graph has to be that of square root. So both the options are probable. However, if you just see, initially while it is released and as it comes down, the velocity will be negative. So the story would be something like this. If we just try to plot, initially comes down and then it goes up. So while coming down, the velocity would be negative. While going up, the velocity will be positive. And right here, the velocity changes the direction abruptly. So option number 2 is the undisputed option now. Why? Let's see. Initially, at the maximum height h, it has been released. Now, as it comes down, it gains the velocity. And here is the negative velocity maximum. Then a rebound, so sudden reversal in the direction of velocity. So from the negative, suddenly it becomes positive. While this option 1 shows a continuous one. Therefore, option number 2 would be the correct option. Let's go for the next. So question number 5 is something like this. Look at this story. There are total 5 blocks and there is a first block which starts the game with a velocity v. And on subsequent collision, every collision is a perfectly inelastic collision. And we need to see what is the final loss in kinetic energy, and after that, that has to be reported in terms of percentage loss in kinetic energy. When it comes to perfectly inelastic collision, there is the loss in kinetic energy, and that loss in kinetic energy is maximum amongst all the collision. But the linear momentum is conserved. So what is the initial momentum? That's mv. Finally, all these 5 blocks can be taken as a system. So that's 4, 4, 8, 8, 16, 16 m v dash. V dash will be the final velocity of that combined block. So we have conserved the linear momentum and I get v dash equals to v by 16. So I think now computing percentage loss in kinetic energy is never a problem. How do we do that? The initial kinetic energy, that is of course equals to 1/2 mv square. And then the final kinetic energy, if you see, that is equal to 1/2 16m multiplied by v dash square. And we have to find the percentage loss. So that is k final minus of k initial, right? That would be the loss in kinetic energy and divided by the initial kinetic energy. And yes, don't forget to multiply by 100. So that will be the percentage loss in kinetic energy. You calculate that, you would get 94% would be the loss in kinetic energy. This would come negative, that's a loss, but since it has asked what is the loss, so we'll go with 94%. Let's go for the next. The next one, a bit simple, a bit complicated, it's a nice mixture. So we have a transverse wave traveling on a straight line, and what does it say? The distance between two crests is 5 meters. Okay, now that's the first data we have, while the distance between one crest and one trough is 1.5 meters. Now the question did not say successive crest. Neither does it say successive crest and trough. And unless specified, we can't assume. So based on this, we need to see what would be the possible wavelengths. To solve that, let's start with a diagram. Okay, so I'm going to make a transverse wave just as an indication, and then let's see the waveform. So that will be sufficient for me. Now the first thing, what does it say? The distance between two crests is 5 meters. So what would be the distance between two successive crests? 1 lambda. It can also be between one crest and other crest. That will be 2 lambda, 3 lambda, 4 lambda, anything. So the first data that we can pick is lambda multiplied by n will be equals to 5. That is equation number 1, where n would be an integer starting from 1. Okay? And after that, another point, what does it say? The distance between one crest and one trough is 1.5 meter. Now just see, between this crest and this trough, that is lambda by 2. But between this and this, that will be 3 lambda by 2. So if you just pick out what would be the distance between one crest and other trough, either lambda by 2 or 3 lambda by 2 or 5 lambda by 2. So there are all possible options. And then we need to see how can we, equate it mathematically. So we can do that by lambda by 2 into 2m minus of 1, that is equal to 1.5. And m will start from 1. So 1, 2, 3, whatever you call. So this is also an integer, this is also an integer. And based on this, now we need to see what are the possible wavelengths. In fact, I'm done with physics, but now we need to put up the mathematical part. So let's do one thing now. The value of lambda, that's equals to 5 by n. Let me put it here. I'll try to find a relationship between m and n. Okay. So lambda is 5 by n. That's going to be 5 by 2n. I put it here, multiplied by 2m minus 1 equals to 1.5. What are the other expressions I'll be getting? So this is going to give me 5 into 2m minus of 1 will be equals to 3n. Okay. After that, this is going to be 5 will go there. So m will be equals to 3n plus of 5 divided by 10. There you are. So we have found a relationship between m and n. Now we need to cherry pick the probable options, because you should remember both m and n should be an integer. So it's a little bit of trial and error, but not a big one. And those are very common while doing mathematics. Let's see, for the first case, just see if I put n equals to 1, that's going to be 8 by 10, 0.8, that's not allowable value of m, because m should be an integer. So in that way, if you start doing, easily you could see for n equals to 5, the value of m, how much is it going to be? That's going to be equals to 2. That's a first possibility. There can also be other possibility, and what is that? If you start searching for other options, then straightforward you have to go with 15 just to see the divisibility of 10. That's not a difficulty. And you would get the value of m as 5. And so on, so forth, you can go. So either you pick m or n. Let me go with n, okay? So n, 5, 15. With this, if I start saying, when n is 5, right, the value of lambda will be 1. When n is 15, the value of lambda will be 1 by 3. So that's easily helping us to zero in the option. Option number 3 is the correct one. All right, let's go to the next.